Check 1, 2. Stand by. Starting soon.
The gigantic government sucks. Pursuit of happiness, radio is deluxe. Liberty and freedom will make you smile. The pursuit of happiness on your radio dial. Just as cheeseburgers and liberty fries, it's pursuit of happiness time.
Greetings. Good afternoon. Good morning and good afternoon. Mostly good afternoon, depending on where you are in the country and the world. Joe Biden has resigned on National Ice Cream Day. He quit the campaign. Nobody's seen the guy. His brother Frank made it sound like he's near death. Obama is not endorsing Kamala. Pelosi and Jeffries also did not endorse Kamala. Kamala released a statement accepting the endorsement, which is a weird thing to do, but okay. The FEC says Harris for VP is now Harris for president. Delegates started shifting Kamala's way. People that told us just a week ago that Joe is the sharpest guy alive, and now for some reason they don't feel that way anymore. Oh, SheJack died, rest in peace, no disrespect. And Kimberly Cheadle, hearing happening right now on Capitol Hill. And my guests for the next hour, in case you're wondering, we're live streaming on social media, but we're also on KPRC 950 today. So this is both a live stream, a podcast, and a radio show. And my guest right now, the very brilliant and awesome Alex Mueller, you may know. And Charles Blaine is in the building right now. Charles Blaine, fresh from a meeting with Wesley Hunt and Ted Cruz?
Well, no, it actually was Ted Cruz and Charles Cunningham. So it turned out, it was different. I don't know what happened.
What was on the move?
What was it for? What, you just came from that?
Yes. So Ted Cruz, Senator Ted Cruz had a meeting, or a press conference, excuse me, to discuss Joe Biden dropping out of the race and what this means and why Democrats have covered it up for so long, and if him not being able to run for president should indicate that we have other concerns about him running the country for the next 6 months. All
right, to your point, and to Ted Cruz's point, I think as well, let me see if I set this up right. This is a recent video, we're told, of Joe Biden talking to a woman that he thinks is his wife. Got a little audio of this. And then his wife walks up. Look at the look on his face. Now, this is before he announced he may or may not have COVID. I don't know if that's even true. But that supposedly is a video of him recently talking to a woman that he thought was Jill. I don't know. What do you think about?
Blonde hair, blue dress. Let's not have the standards too high.
I mean, that is a pretty embarrassing moment for him. All right, so Joe is not in good shape right now, as we're told. His brother, I don't know if you guys have seen this clip yet, his brother just made it sound like he's dead. Now, you're probably thinking Jim Biden. No, we're actually referring to Frank Biden, who also has legal issues, interestingly enough. Is there a Biden that doesn't have legal issues? Watch this clip from CBS News earlier today.
Younger brothers, and here's what he told us. He said, I'm incredibly proud of my brother. Selfishly, I will have him back to enjoy whatever time we have left. He is a genuine hero. Country over self. It sounds corny in our cynical political environment, but he nor I are cynical. The goal remains the same: defeat Trump and continue the work that Joe has done. My hope is that our party rallies around this heroic.
All right, I'm going to pause it right here. It just occurred to me that Alex and Charles don't have headphones on, so they can't hear this unless I mute the mics. But I just want to play that first part one more time. Let me rewind. Listen to what Frank says about his brother.
Younger brothers, and here's what he told us. He said, I'm incredibly proud of my brother. Selfishly, I will have him back to enjoy whatever time we have left.
Whatever time we have left. Guys, is Joe even alive right now? I mean, nobody's heard from him.
No, we've got a tweet, right? So pretty monumental decision to drop out of a race, just nullify a good 14 million votes, and nobody has seen him.
Yeah, it's scary, Charles.
Well, and it's weird because you could simply just put a 30-second video out. Like, he could have sat at his desk and said this.
I mean, he could do it from an ice cream shop.
Right.
He could celebrate the holiday and drop out of the race at the same time.
I mean, it's very clear that something is up. The fact that he couldn't even be seen saying this or holding a press conference. They said they'd have one later in the week. I highly doubt it. I'm deeply concerned about what's going on right now.
Here's what's so weird about this. We have so little faith in the trust from this party and his administration and his campaign because Kamala and KJP, Karine Jean-Pierre, told us days ago, I see him every day. He's sharp as a tack. Suddenly he's got COVID, right? Didn't he just have a cold 2 or 3 weeks ago during the debate?
The debate, right.
And now he's got COVID all of a sudden.
Well, clearly.
No, he
it's
was
people.
doing backflips in the Oval Office. We just weren't privy to it. And now, all of a sudden, COVID is possibly very severe health consequences. And only joking just because of the absurdity of the situation where we've gone from he's running marathons to now he may have days left to live. And the whole point is we have no idea. What we got is a tweet, and we've already seen an issue here that's happened with the rise of X, that staffers can be running these accounts, and you have no idea what the actual office holder is saying and thinking. And so, obviously, understand the decision not to run, think that certainly applies to his ability to hold the office, but how do you not show us some form of proof of life to know that you actually made that choice?
Here's a crazy conspiracy theory. Is it possible they figured, look, Joe has to die of COVID now, or at least make it seem like he's dying of COVID, to do something that will be as heroic as Trump screaming fight with blood dripping down his face? I mean, Charles, what else can they do now?
I mean, the only thing I can think is that he has some really, really bad days, and this is why they keep keeping him away from us. Because if you think about it, for the past couple of years, we haven't seen pictures from cabinet meetings. We haven't seen at the start of the term he used
Charles,
to ride
I think
bikes.
it's because they haven't had a cabinet meeting for years. It's hard to take a picture of something that doesn't happen.
Exactly. He was riding bikes at the start of the term. Like, we don't see him at all other than these very short, very scripted moments. And I think it's a sign that he must really have some good days and some bad days, and his good days aren't that great. And so, I mean, it's deeply concerning because who is running the country on a day-to-day basis?
And I would just add what I think that the COVID going away for the weekend this was an opportunity for him to leave with dignity. This was the branch. We saw the last few weeks, the heat started pressing up where, for all of us on the conservative side, you've never seen a bad news cycle for a Democrat last more
Not
than a
like
day.
this.
And this was just keep on, escalating. And so what they did is says, listen, we can continue to drag and muddy your name, or we're going to give you a chance to leave with dignity. And now look at the whole flip cycle. Joe the Patriot, storming the beaches of Normandy. Let's go.
Look at how much has just changed, right? Trump, right-wing populism has become American populism. Young, cool, Bitcoin-loving people are all just leaning towards Trump and republicanism. Joe's out. Everybody's laughing at Kamala, and the Astros are in first place all of a sudden. I don't think I don't think there are coincidences, you guys. Hey, quick break. More with my guest, the very awesome and beautiful Alex Mueller. Charles Blaine from urbanreform.org is here. It is right-wing Houston's reaction to all the weird news. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
America, the land of taxation that was founded to avoid taxation. Kenny Webster's Pursuit of Happiness.
Hey, if you're watching us on social media right now, you are watching us record segments for a radio show that's going to air in about an hour, which means you don't have to change the channel. When you hear me say that, don't go anywhere. Hang around because I'm just saving the segment, and we'll start in literally seconds from now. So hang on 1 second here. All right, we're back from break. Kenny Webster here with my good friends, Alex Mueller, local Republican firebrand, right-wing conservative thought leader, and Charles Blaine. Really, two very similar people. Charles and Alex and I are actually friends in real life. We all hang out and talk to each other in group texts about local political issues. And as I'm sure a lot of you would have guessed, with everything going on right now, Sheila Jackson Lee passing away, not even the biggest news story of the day for Houstonians, Joe Biden stepping down, and now Kamala Harris. The rise of Kamala, it begs an interesting question. If Joe can't run for president, right, considering what the point of the 25th Amendment is, can he be president for a few more months? Shouldn't we be asking the question right now? In fact, to save Joe's legacy, wouldn't you think, and I'm just trying to think like a liberal, his legacy is either, pathetic ending to his career, or the guy that put the first female a POC Indian black person into the office of the presidency. Wouldn't you think that would be his move at this moment? I mean, it feels like, I hate to admit it, that's the only thing that saves his legacy in history books. Alex?
First, I would just say whether or not he's sentient or not doesn't change, I think, the day-to-day. So, yes, in terms of democracy, the way that you think of the actual office holder making decisions, But we've seen this across the spectrum. How long was Dianne Feinstein,
Right.
taking votes in office where I don't think there's anyone that thought that she was at her full capacities till the end. We've seen it now with Joe Biden. Plenty of conservatives have made that argument with Mitch McConnell that what seems to matter in current politics is just occupying that slot. And what is very alarming, especially me being on the liberty end of the spectrum,
Right.
is this idea that, no, actually, nothing changes. The joke, because Biden's staff has been running and making all those decisions for so long, and, pretty alarming, who are those key players, that business will continue as usual, except maybe Joe gets some longer nap time.
Yeah, Charles, look, we'll talk more about Sheila in a bit, but just on that note, because you bring up such an interesting point, Alex, Joe has been incapacitated, right? Sheila Jackson Lee tweeting hours before her death. Are we supposed to believe, look, rest in peace, we've all lost family members to cancer, no disrespect here, but am I to believe that Sheila Jackson Lee on her deathbed is watching Trump's speech and complaining about it on Twitter? No, she's not, clearly.
Right.
John Fetterman, Dianne Feinstein. These aren't the only people, Charles.
No, not at all. And if you remember when Dianne Feinstein was kind of towards the end, she lost power of attorney. Well, her daughter took over power of attorney because she couldn't even handle her own finances and things in her life, but yet she's supposedly making rules and taking votes on behalf of Californians. And so I think, one, they're not the only ones. We have a lot of these unelected, appointed, and hired people who are running these offices. And at some point, it almost seems like criminal that is in a situation like Joe Biden's, where we don't know the status of his health and these major decisions that have to be made on a daily basis. And people who we did not elect to make those decisions are making a lot of those decisions. It's a serious problem in all levels of government. And I think this is somewhat exposing it, but I don't know that it's going to fix it. That's the problem.
All right, I hate to feed into conspiracy theories, but the conspiracy theorists are batting almost 1,000 right now. Something that has been widely discussed among people on social media, right-wingers and left-wingers both, Joe's signature on that resignation letter, stepping down from the race, doesn't look like a lot of his other signatures. Now, that doesn't mean anything, but does it?
I just think it's the point where we shouldn't be relying on the signature. He should have gone on camera and made that decision. And it's a digital signature, too. The whole thing. It's like, I'm all for things being expedited online. I wish we would do that with more regulations. But something this momentous, and that's the issue, is like we're laughing about it because it's so absurd that this comfort new normal for, any staffer can just put out a tweet and that's policy. And we don't really care if we ever actually know, is it the principal making decisions? It's just the construct of it.
Yeah, that's Charles.
No, I agree. And I think, I don't think this is going to happen, but I think in a world it could happen where they did this, someone, assuming he's not where he needs to be and someone did this for him, we could go the rest of this term without actually seeing him, right? He could be tweeting things out, posting old pictures. We've seen elected officials do that time and time again, and not actually see him. And I would assume that come November, if Trump wins, we're going to get a statement from the White House saying that Biden's not going to attend the inauguration. And so, the fact that we have to have these conversations and we can live in a realm of reality where we don't know the status of the president and we might not see him and we don't know when we're going to see him, it's deeply concerning.
All right, let's talk a little bit about who the presumed nominee is now. And that, of course, is supposedly Kamala Harris. And I presume it will be. I would
absolutely,
because of the financial situation. But all that being said, if that's who it is, this is what they're dealing with. Here's a clip of MSNBC. I think this is from yesterday. This is Jen Psaki with Rachel Maddow. What's so weird about MSNBC is they kind of say, if you watch in the evening, they'll often say the quiet part out loud because it's like they don't realize Republicans are watching. Watch this.
But now the DNC and the Democratic Party has to run. They're going to run a process, is my understanding. And the process is going to be, the goal of it is to make the vice president look strong and be strong at the end of the process. So that means that's what we're going to see over the next couple of days. We'll learn a lot more about what that looks like.
What kind of a process? Like a competition?
Guys,
No,
even,
I know the idea of any debate. What?
even Rachel Maddow can't believe, like, no, it's a legitimate, what's the point of a convention? If nothing else is to determine who's the best person for the candidacy. But as Jen Psaki, a DNC insider masquerading as a media personality, just let out of the bag, actually what we're really going to do is just make her look strong. Alex, this is deeply insulting if you're a leftist.
Slow clap for the hardworking primary Democrat voters that keep going out there clearly when your vote doesn't mean anything.
No, it doesn't. And these are we've talked about this off the air. This is the same political party that had superdelegates. This is the same political party that got sued by Bernie Sanders for trying to rig the 2016 debates. Bernie lost, by the way. The party can rig their own debates, a court decided. This is the same political party that tried to bankrupt the lead candidate, Trump, tried to put him in prison, and some would argue tried to kill the guy by sending Secret Service agents to go protect Jill in Pittsburgh or go protect Zelensky for some reason. This is mainstream media's reporting on this stuff. Now, you could argue that they weren't trying to kill Trump and that was just negligence, but it still doesn't look good, Charles.
No, not at all. And it's very weird that they're doing this whole thing. It's like a dog and pony show. We know that they want to coronate Kamala here, but yet they can't necessarily do that because she hasn't won a race on her own since she was AG of California. So they have to make it look like she can win a race. And they're going to throw up candidates who don't have as much money and who aren't as strong because they're not the vice president, and then go into this. And I think one of the rules was they're going to refrain from having the superdelegates vote in the first round, but then they can vote in the second round. And so it's like, okay, so she just has to kind of eke through the first one, come out with a tie, and then all of a sudden the superdelegates are hers. I mean, it's a ridiculous notion. And I just don't understand why they're going through this. If this is the case and they wanted her to be a nominee, they should have encouraged him to step down 6 months ago, let her ascend to the presidency, and then go into this election as president. Why are we doing all this?
Do you think that the point of having a debate in June and then not having the election, their convention until August, was because they had all this planned for over a year?
No, I mean, I think the debate could certainly be a forcing function, and clearly they're willing to plan. The idea that everybody but Obama, one of Kamala's biggest cheerleaders, has endorsed. It's okay, every single Democrat except for party leadership, because as long as it's not our senior leadership, whether it's Nancy Pelosi, Hakeem Jeffries, then this is organic grassroots support. But it's sort of noticeable that, the list, it's hard to think of who hasn't endorsed her other than those few key senior positions.
Well, and on my way in, Nancy did endorse.
Sorry. We're getting it. Okay, so we're going to hold out one or two, but I mean, the path's been clear. Right now, it's really is going to be about who's the VP, and what I think they're playing for, just as a former down ballot candidate. This is all about margin, and I think margin with those battleground races is finally what pulled them off. So you had the debate. It clearly showed what they had to be knowing for months. Obviously, Kamala's integrity called into question. She's been going to bat for him, but at this point, will they pick a candidate that makes them more viable in battlegrounds, or will they continue down this path?
Those are really good questions. All right, Kimberly Cheadle, the head of the Secret Service, I think they're breaking at the moment, but she has been getting grilled by both Democrats and Republicans alike today. Only 2 Democrats of all the people in their party are calling on the head of the Secret Service to step down. Ayanna Pressley, amazingly, making this about race and sex. We've got the clip. Stick around. We'll play it all when we get back. Also, the passing of local Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee and the weird intersection between Kimberly Cheadle's perceived negligence and the death of Sheila Jackson. Hang around. I'll show you what all that means in a minute. If you're listening to us live on the radio, a short commercial break. If you're watching us stream on social media, we'll be back in seconds. Don't go anywhere.
Pursuit of Happiness Radio coming out your speaker.
This is Kenny Webster's Pursuit of Happiness on KPRC 950, Houston.
All right, if you're watching us on social media, and you're wondering what this is, we're recording segments that are going to air in about an hour on KPRC 950 in Houston. There's 2 important news radio stations in Houston, for those of you that aren't from here. Our sister station, KTRH, very serious, and they never say anything dirty, and we're the edgy station, so we get away with a lot. If you're wondering what's going on, I'm just saving the segments, so don't go anywhere. We will start literally in seconds. Hang around. The buck stops here. That's what Kimberly Cheadle claims. She's the head of the Secret Service, and a lot of people are wondering right now, how does this woman still have a job? Imagine your main goal, like the main thing you're supposed to do is to keep people alive, and on your watch, somebody almost died. I mean, let's be clear. Somebody died, right? An innocent person. 2 other innocent people were seriously injured at that rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. Most people know the story by now, so we don't have to walk through it. But we know for a fact that Kimberly Cheadle's done a pretty bad job. And now there's been some strange things that have been claimed over the course of the last few days here, that Jill Stein was responsible for putting Kimberly Cheadle in this position. And we've heard that they took security staff off the Trump rally and sent it to go protect Zelensky. Kind of infuriating if you're a person that thinks we've spent too much money on the Ukraine war. Similarly, we've also heard that apparently security staff was taken off of the Trump rally and sent to go watch Jill Biden, who was in Pittsburgh for some reason that day. And then there's this. Kimberly Cheadle, head of the Secret Service, giving her testimony today, decided to pay a little tribute to Congresswoman of Houston, now the late Congresswoman, rest in peace, Sheila Jackson Lee. Listen to this.
I would be remiss if I did not also extend my condolences on the passing of your colleague, Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. Ms. Jackson Lee was always engaged in the oversight of the Secret Service, and her passing is a great loss to this body.
Was always engaged in the oversight of the Secret Service. And look, again, rest in peace, but boy, strange timing, a weird comment to make. Alex, look, this is a local woman to us here in Houston, and everybody in this room's lost somebody to cancer. We're not going to crap on Sheila Jackson Lee today, but what do you think about what she just said there?
I don't think you should be making accusations about what somebody's role was when they're not present to defend themselves.
Yeah.
So it seems an awkward interjection where to be bringing up that past performance and, obviously condolences out of the Congresswoman's family. But to me, this is more of her dip, dive, ducking for accountability, where whoever is supposed to be oversight, whatever other name she wants to throw into it, she should have been fired, if not resigning.
Yeah. Charles?
No, I mean, I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, if I were the Congresswoman's family, I'd be offended. Like, don't put me in this. Like, that's ridiculous.
Exactly.
She's up there presumably taking responsibility for her failures as the head of this agency, and then to kind of pull anyone else into it just doesn't really make any sense. And it's a deflection. I mean, at that point. And so I don't know if her intention was to do that or if she was actually being genuine, but either way, you should not be pulling people in when it's something this massive.
Yeah, it's an very strange timing for that. Now, she says she's not stepping down. Kimberly Cheadle is not going anywhere. Nancy Mace not having it today. By the way, I just want to ask for a friend. I can't play the video of this, so I just have the audio because it's censored. Here is Nancy Mace today questioning Kimberly Cheadle during the congressional hearing just hours ago.
I would have to get back to you.
That is a no. You're full of today. You're just being completely dishonest.
Mr. Chairman,
completely dishonest.
Mr. Chairman, I want to.
Come on.
We have to maintain decorum in this committee, no matter how
have you provided
upset we
any
get.
and all memos to this committee that we've asked you on July 15th? Have you provided all memorandums within the Secret Service?
I would have to get back to you on
that. Is a no. You are being dishonest or lying. You're being dishonest here with this committee. These are important questions that the American people want answers to, and you're just dodging and talking around it in generalities. And we had to subpoena you to be here, and you won't even answer the questions. We have asked you repeatedly to answer our questions. This isn't hard. These are not hard questions.
All right. I don't know if Nancy Mace is still single, but if she is, I'd like to know. Just asking for a friend. So now, similarly, Lauren Boebert, another one of my favorite congresswomen, asking questions today about how apparently Kimberly Cheadle was using an encrypted app to communicate with other people in the Secret Service, and that they were aware of the fact that they didn't follow protocol. And so Lauren Boebert asked, would you be willing to share your phone with us? Kimberly Cheadle said, only if I am required to, which was, It sounds like you're guilty of something here. Charles, why don't you start this one? What do you think of all that?
No, I mean, that's the thing. In something like this, where you have the attempted assassination of a president, you would think that, especially if you're a government official, you'd be more than willing to turn over anything that you could possibly have.
Particularly when your best defense is a slope roof, is what got us. Let's just put this in the scale. This wasn't some elite Iranian, secret.
Right, some 20-year-old from Pennsylvania. And so you would think that she would be more, and the fact that they even had to subpoena her to get there, I mean, you would think that she'd jump at the chance to come, and whether it's clear her name, clear her agency, or just apologize for the oversight, whatever it may be, you would expect that government officials would be a little more forthcoming when it comes to something like the assassination attempt of a president. But again, that is our government that we have today. Obviously, this is just another representation of it.
Yeah, Alex?
No, when I saw what happened and as details came out, I was honestly dumbfounded.
You actually have some experience. For those that don't know who Alex Mueller is, if you're from outside of Harris County, Alex Mueller is a brilliant person who used to run a team of people that would defuse bombs and explosives, and you've actually got experience with protecting politicians. Can you tell us about that?
Most people don't realize, and it's not a commonly known thing, but members of the bomb squad in the military, we work with the Secret Service.
Makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I've done security for former President Obama, as well as President Bush. And when I think about the lengths we went to, you get their significant advanced kind of party details. I've kind of crawled around in boiler rooms, been through their underwear drawers, on rooftops of hotels, being so thorough. And when you look and you're in the middle of a farm field, and I'm certainly by no means the, elite of the most tactical, but this was at such a basic level. I mean, that level of negligence. There's always attacks that are so well coordinated, multifaceted that, understand the vulnerability. But with this, if you couldn't stop something as basic as this, what is your purpose? Why are you there?
A question about that. So one of the things that's getting thrown around here is this narrative that, and Ayanna Pressley and a handful of other people did this today, Jasmine Crockett, I think, that this is an attack on women. It's an attack on POCs, which there weren't even really any black people involved. And when you watch up on stage, you don't see like a lot of black women up there. It doesn't feel like that has anything to do with it. But certainly people have criticized the DEI policies that both Dr. Jill and Kimberly Cheadle are seen on video pushing for the Secret Service. You're a woman, Alex.
Yeah, no, something I feel
you're
very...
You're the person they're attacking here.
No, so this is the difference. And yes, when I would work with Secret Service, I remember I'd always get kind of stared at a lot because there wasn't a lot of women. But when you make policies that lower standards to inflate numbers, not only do you create bad stereotypes for those that are competent, but you actually do endanger. So yes, have there been plenty of competent women, but when you have whatever aggressive targets, I think 30%, that is an acknowledgement that to hit those targets, you are going to be rapidly dropping standards. And I did come from the bomb squad, and we were there when we had a quadruple in size because of the war on terror. And that wasn't for a specific gender or race. It was just bodies. And a lot of standards started getting lessened and across the whole military, and we saw it. We started waiving for behavioral health issues, different criminal records, and that translated into performance declines. And so I always find it very offensive that when you notice that people that, listen, I can holster a firearm, right? When I see a woman that's supposed to be guarding our president that can't holster a firearm, that is so deeply offensive that is supposed to represent the sort of combat veterans that I was around and the competency that was expected.
All right.
So I don't take that as an attack on women. I see this as an attack on a failed administration and agency.
Well, Charles, I got to ask you the same question here because I'm the cisgendered, heteronormative white devil that, obviously I'm not supposed to like DEI. But meritocracy, I think, is good for everybody. I mean, you're a black Republican. You're the boogeyman to them. What do you think about this?
I mean, it should be. And, I watched a portion of the hearing today, and Jasmine Crockett was asking, she was asking a bit about DEI, but then she was asking if they did not take the shooter seriously because when they look at young white men, even if they're carrying rifles, they don't usually trigger the bias alarm as the way that young black men who aren't carrying rifles are. It was like such a ridiculous statement. And so the underlying question was, do you guys do bias training? And she was like, yeah. But it's ridiculous because they try to feed all of that into it. And what's interesting is I was having a conversation on Friday, and someone had pulled up some of the physical requirements, from sit-ups, push-ups, pull-ups for the Secret Service for men and women. And I'm not one to pick on anybody when it comes to like lowering physical standards, but what they had on there was like kind of ridiculous in terms of comparison. And you would think in a situation like that where you're protecting the president, you should have some comparative figures. Like you need to get a stronger woman if that is the case, or you need to get a stronger man. It should not lower standards because your target is someone who is of great importance and it needs to be priority to protect them.
All right, we got a break. Did you have one more thought you wanted to add?
Oh, no, I just meant you could be most talented, greatest, but if you're 5 feet nothing, I'm sorry, you probably shouldn't be guarding.
Well, yeah, exactly.
And there's different rules. You want to be a sniper? Great.
Right.
But I don't want you to be at 5 foot nothing standing in front of a very large president.
Right. It's true. Everybody has different skills. I can't slam dunk and I can't do brain surgery, but I do tell boner jokes about politicians. That's what I'm good at. Hey, if you're watching us on social media, don't go anywhere. We have to play a stinger here. And so we'll be back in seconds. But if you're listening on the radio, a short commercial break. Hang on one second, everybody.
This is Kenny Webster's Pursuit of Happiness on KPRC 950, Houston.
All right, everybody, we're recording segments that are going to air in about an hour on the radio here in Houston. But you're watching us live, so you're just waiting while this saves, and then we'll start again. We've got a bunch of clips here we need to play that we haven't gotten to yet of Kamala and some local issues that we'd love to sprinkle in, plus comments that you guys have been leaving on social media over the last 30 minutes here that I'd love to read on the air because you guys have all made some interesting points. So type them away in the comment section there, and we'll get to them in seconds. Hang around, everybody. Okay, we're back. If you're just turning on your radio or getting connected with us on social media, I'm Kenny Webster of The Walton and Johnson Show, and I used to write for Breitbart, and you might have heard me on The Michael Berry Show and so many other places, or Mancow, how could I forget my former mentor? But also in the studio right now, Alex Mueller is here, conservative thought leader from Houston, and Charles Blaine is here from urbanreform.org. For those that don't know, Charles, what is urbanreform.org?
Just kind of promote and put out what's going on locally. So county government, city government, sometimes school district. For people who aren't able to follow it on a day-to-day basis, we kind of chop up clips and put things out so people can understand what's happening and then hopefully use it to go and say something because there's a lot to say.
I love that. Yeah, conservative. Imagine how crazy that is. Conservative solutions to the giant communities around the country where socialism is failing. What a radical idea. Alex, what do you got going on lately?
So joined the Metro Board a few months ago, and so
in Harris County, and so and to your point, like that is something that needs a lot of help in this city. So I'm glad that you are doing it. We are just reacting to some of the insane news from over the last 48 to 36 hours here, and I think something we really need to pay attention to is who the candidate is probably going to be, and I think nobody has done a better job of explaining who the DNC's new candidate is than Tulsi Gabbard 4 years ago.
I want to bring the conversation back to the broken criminal justice system that is disproportionately negatively impacting Black and brown people all across this country today. Now, Senator Harris says she's proud of her record as a prosecutor and that she'll be a prosecutor president, but I'm deeply concerned about this record. There are too many examples to cite, but she put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked evidence. She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail system in place. That impacts poor people in the worst kind of way.
Congresswoman. I gotta think if you're a law and order Republican, even if you're very authoritarian, right-wing, lock up the criminals for life, that is too extreme of a stance for you. So how are liberal voters supposed to react to who their candidate just became, Charles?
Well, they're going to turn a blind eye to it, and they're going to fall in line because that's often what they do. And that's the thing, because that came up during the debate, and I think that was the same debate, or at least the same year where Kamala, accused
Joe Biden of racism.
And yet everybody forgot all about it. And now it's kumbaya, and now she's being pushed forward. And that's what they often do. They just kind of turn a blind eye to it because a lot of times for them, power is more important than the quality of elected official that they have. And so that's where they find themselves.
Alex?
No, agree. And I just hope independents and Republicans remember this is the same person that was bailing out violent criminals that were burning our cities in 2020. Because that's also on her record.
Isn't that remarkable? Like, how could that have been the same person in the same decade? When you believe in nothing, you could say you believe in anything at the drop of a dime. When you have no principles, anything can be your principles. Isn't really, you brought up independence, and I'm glad you did, because it reminded me of RFK Jr., who is still technically running for president. Wouldn't he be, I mean, isn't he polling higher than Kamala at this point? I hate to listen to RFK Jr.'s voice in a political debate, but doesn't he kind of deserve to be there?
No, this is a party that's about command and control. So what's so funny about a lot of the Democrat ideology is that you would think, a lot of people that it attracts the Subaru drivers with the bumper stickers. But when it comes to their politics, it's machine politics. And it is a top-down. I mean, how often can you look at Joe Biden's tweet and 2 minutes later, Lena Hidalgo has almost the exact same thing? And that's what we saw with Biden. He's great. He's running ultramarathon mans to then, nope's got to go, not go. That they clearly have strong command and control. You're not going to have somebody that is willing to be independent be the nominee.
Yeah. Charles, I got to think, considering how 2020 went and the fact that Kamala is not very popular, and look, there are people that will get mobilized for a female POC candidate in the Democrat Party. There's no doubt about that. But she's still deeply unpopular looking at how the Democrat primaries went. But all that being said, at this point, is this really just about down ballot congressional seats? Nobody's passionate about Joe. They might show up in some places around the country for Kamala. Is that the strategy at this point?
Well, I think for them, they looked at the numbers and they know that that's not a reality for them. And so they're trying to kind of save whatever they can. And I think it is a lot of the down ballot ones. I think their only hope is that maybe they filter through some of the potential VP picks and find someone who makes that ticket more likable. But I don't know that anyone that they pick is going to make the ticket likable enough to close the gap that Kamala brings. And so I think right now their hope is to just kind of save enough of stop enough of the bleeding to save some of these down ballot races. But I think people are waking up to it. Again, they have lied for so long, for so many years about this. And mind you, we're just seeing the clips here and there, the speeches here and there. They're with him all the time. So they know how bad this really is. We're just getting a glimpse of it. And so they had an idea of how bad it was and consistently told us otherwise. And I think people are recognizing that now. And whether or not they go vote for Republican, I definitely think they're going to be more reluctant to support Democrats in November.
All right, going from that to this. We're live streaming. We're live streaming right now.
There's always buckle up when Kenny's in control.
We're live streaming right now on social media, where I have about 450,000 followers on Facebook, and 37 people on that platform could see me. 1/10 as many followers on Twitter, where 588 people are watching us live streaming. I don't think that that's a coincidence. Elon Musk got us here. Peter Thiel got us here, and I can't even believe we're about to watch this clip. Over the weekend, you guys might not even recognize this mixed martial arts wearing. He's got what is he wearing? Is that what do the kids call that? Is that drip? Is that Mark Zuckerberg?
I've done some stuff personally in the past. I'm not planning on doing that this time. And that includes, not endorsing either of the candidates. Now, look, I mean, there's obviously a lot of crazy stuff going on in the world. I mean, the historic events over the weekend. And I mean, on a personal note, it's, seeing Donald Trump get up after getting shot in the face and pump his fist in the air with the American flag is one of the most badass things I've ever seen in my life. But
wait. Where are we? Do you guys not remember Zuckerbucks? We were going to pass a law here in Texas to stop this guy that lives in California from meddling in our elections. And now he says Trump is the most badass guy he's ever seen in his life. Charles, why don't you start this round?
Well, I think he sees how the tide is turning. And you see this from a lot of folks who have been previously critical, or at least up until this election season really got kicked off. They were very critical. And now they're kind of subtly, maybe not coming over, but they're at least softening the language that they're using because they know that they're going to be in for another 4 years of Trump. And at the best, they don't want to be kind of the target. They want to just fall under the radar. And so I think you're seeing that from him now.
And I would also go back to, at least for me, and most things I go on policy issues, but when you saw Trump do that that was the first time I think a lot of us got to be proud, like really proud after, I grew up very patriotic, always through, but in this Biden administration is just constantly embarrassed on the world stage over and over again. And so to see someone show strength again, I think was actually very inspiring. And it was nice to be like, we don't just keep getting rolled over. And even a lot of the RNC, as they made, fun of it, I enjoyed the fact that it was less politicians, but I mean, it brought me back to being a kid to see Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
And part of that is just showing that it's okay. And if you hear him actually when he's talking seriously, it's like, listen, how long could I stay silent? I've seen the border, I've seen inflation. And so now what's happened is it's mainstreamed being able to say I'm a conservative, where for so long, it's a taboo word.
You brought up Hulk Hogan. Have you guys seen the movie Idiocracy? Idiocracy is about, it's a professional wrestler becomes president in the future. Everybody's very dumb and technology rules over us. And Mike Judge didn't get everything right. But earlier today, I'm running in the park. Before I come here, I see a truck drive by. You'll get this joke. You won't. And the truck's license plate is upgrade with 2 Ds. So I pull up next to the woman driving, and this is a character from the movie, Upgrade, with 2 Ds for a double dose of Dispimpin'. And I asked her if did you watch the movie Idiocracy? And she said, yeah, that's why I did it. And I was like, that's awesome. You're awesome. The thing that's so wild about that, and I'm a Republican, is even though the Republican National Convention did take little elements from the movie Idiocracy, it's still the cooler, more fun political party. It's weird to think that if Idiocracy's right, and this is the writing on the wall, somehow this is actually the more competent side of the two options.
And what I'd push back is, we're the party that at least has the office holders making choices and decisions.
Yeah.
So I take a big offense when they say, look, RNC Idiocracy. It's like, no, Hulk Hogan gave a very, cogent reason for it, but it was a part of this going back to American strength, being proud to be American. When you think about our rallies, they have to limit probably some of their stronger VP contenders because of anti-Semitism. I mean, they have... That
is a great point, yeah. And then the other thing they kept throwing out was Amber Rose. They got it's an OnlyFans model at the RNC. It's hard as it is to believe. I have liberal friends, and I asked them what they thought of Amber Rose's speech right after they made fun of her. I was like, did you watch the speech? They said, yeah, actually, it was a pretty good speech. They begrudgingly admitted it to me, Charles.
Well, I mean, and I to be fair, I didn't watch the speech. I saw clips of it and heard about it. But I think the thing is, when you bring folks in like Amber Rose, and I think they had Alice Marie Johnson, who was one of the women that Trump released with the First Step Act, and people who are kind of atypical to Republican politics coming and giving their testimony as to why they have come and joined the party, or at least just supporting Trump. It resonates with people because it's not the cookie cutter person that you usually hear from. And so as much as they want to talk about it, having these different faces and voices come forward and say that, I think is important. And then I saw, it was either yesterday or the day before, that Waka Flocka even tweeted like, oh, we need to support Trump or something. So it's really interesting to see this very vocal support from people you don't typically find supporting Republicans.
Isn't that it? And some Republicans, conservative activists, are mad about that. Like, oh, Amber Rose supports abortion and she's on our side. Isn't it interesting that we have a party platform right now that's appealing to a Waka Flocka Flame and an Amber Rose, but also a Christian conservative family from middle America? I think that's why we're going to win. But guys, don't write off Kamala yet. And of course, we're still a long way to Election Day. I'm Kenny Webster. I want to thank 2 of my best friends, Alex Mueller for being here, Charles Blaine from urbanreform.org. Follow them on social media. If you're just watching me on Twitter and you don't even know what I do for a living, if you're one of the people out there that follows me, I host a popular morning show with Steve Johnson called The Walton and Johnson Show. And every afternoon I do this, Pursuit of Happiness Radio, on our flagship station. So, subscribe to the podcast and download the Walton and Johnson smartphone app and check out our website. We love you all. God bless you. God bless America. Thanks for watching today, everybody. We appreciate you. And I'll hopefully be back tomorrow.
You are listening to the Pursuit of Happiness Radio. Tell the government to kiss your ass when you listen to this show.